Hey guys, welcome to Complete Developer Live with your hosts, Beardman and the Boy Wonder.
Very nice.
So I'm going to let you go first on your updates since you have the most revealing of updates, Boy Wonder.
Yeah, so I obviously got a haircut. Got them all cut. Donated the hair to Locks of Love, so that hair that was hanging down my back is going to be on some kid's head. That's got cancer or alopecia or one
Your
of those
back
things.
hair is going to be on some kid's
Not
head.
my back hair, the hair that was right out here.
I know I'm messing with you.
So they cut that, and then I had the big beard, right? So it looked weird coming up, and it was kind of not right. So they shaved that down to a goatee, and I was okay with it. And then I got back to the office, and I was sitting there looking in the mirror, and I was like, I look like Tim Curry.
I don't have a problem with that.
And so I was like, this isn't gonna. Yeah, so I just shaved it all off. It's not too bad. The only there's
Just thinking about some movies that Tim Curry was in.
Yeah, so there were a few things that were issues. The first is my beard looked dark, like it was on my face, but apparently all the hair underneath was gray. So when they shaved it, I looked down and it looked like somebody had taken the back quarter off of a skunk. And I was looking at that going, "You old." So that was a little disconcerting. Yeah, my face is rounder than I remember. I was laying in bed and I had my cell phone right in front of my face. Yeah, I did look.
I'm trying to determine. Yeah, I can
with the goatee. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just picturing you looking like him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was laying in bed and I was looking at my cell phone and I turned it off and I saw my reflection, and it looked like I swear it looked like I was gonna demand Solo in the Wookiee. So I had to. I'm not overly pleased with the extra puffiness to the face. I'm not sure. I think it's probably too late to say that was from the shaving. I think that's just you got a little bit of adipose tissue in there. So.
It's funny. My mom the other day had mentioned that she saw a picture of you and you looked like you'd put on weight. I'm like, really? I know he's been bulking, so.
No, I've put on weight probably since last summer because I haven't been able to lift or exercise much, and just that dadgum hernia and everything else that's gone on with it. Mm. Yeah.
So the beer we're drinking is the Kirkland's.
Yeah, there was a discount.
we bought the 24 pack, so we'll be drinking it for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, unless I just really have a real bad time the next week or so,
So while Will got a shave and a haircut, thank you. I got a new bookshelf. There's a pile of boxes full of books that I need to put up. Will is not exactly happy about that because apparently he had an extra bookshelf that I didn't know about. So
you could have had it for free. Could have hauled it off. Could have not been here. Great. But when you get a bigger place, I know you're going to buy 10,000 books anyway because that's what you do. That's sort of part of your operating system. So it'll disappear, especially now that you know about it.
Dude, I have books still in. I don't have a space for another bookshelf, but I've got books still in storage that when I get a bigger place, I will, need.
Yeah,
so don't worry about it. Also been making some new friends in the podcasting world outside of tech. Really cool. Check out the Ultimate Showdown podcast. It's really neat. They debate who would win in a fight between two unrelated characters. Apparently they do tournaments and stuff, and it's really cool. So that was really neat. Podcast update. We're going out of order here a little bit. So we started with your, boy wonderness.
Well, it's kind of hard to, not to mention my fat face again, but it was the elephant in the room.
Your face is the elephant.
Yeah.
I'll remember that.
Yeah. It's sort of I am the walrus, but your face is the elephant.
Goo 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 goo.
Yeah, something.
So, been ordering swag for our booth at Music City Tech. We got some stickers for us and JDT. I got some other really cool stuff that we're gonna have for those of you guys that show up. Also looking into ordering some different type of water bottles. Brain just stopped,
Are you waving to the queen?
I was like, do you drink
I don't
water
know.
bottle? You know?
Man.
I mean, I know you don't drink water, you drink beer, but
Well, it's
other
got-
people drink water.
It's got water in it.
Yeah, well. So we're looking at getting some new water bottles. I'm hoping I can up the quality and reduce the price because I think we're overpaying for the ones that
Probably are.
we've got. So yeah, so if you guys have recently gotten a water bottle from us, or not recently gotten it, but recently, I don't want to say earned one, won one. I don't know.
Obtained. You've recently
No, not obtained because they haven't received it yet. What I'm
Oh.
saying is you've recently been mentioned on the show.
recently been in queued to obtain.
Yeah.
Said
Then
water bottle.
it may be a little bit longer if you haven't already received it because I am going to order some new water bottles and we're going to use those. May throw in a sticker or something for you guys as sort of a thanks for waiting for me to get all this stuff together. Or some other swag. Maybe, some of the stuff that we're getting from Music City Tech I might just throw in there for you guys. So that's pretty cool. Well, that's all I got for the podcast. Oh, hey, and Junior Developer Toolbox, they're getting stickers too.
Yeah.
They got a redesign on their logo. Looks totally awesome. Shout out to Mike Conrad, fellow developer and friend of ours. Play trivia with him sometimes. He redesigned their logo. Looks great.
Yeah, it really does.
So we need to get in touch with him about a few things that we want designed.
So, Mike, if you're listening.
Yeah.
So, we got some listener questions. Here's the
Forgot
first
to
one.
announce we were live.
Oh, yeah. So, Beej will announce that we're live in all the channels, and I'll go ahead with this. So, our first listener question. The good news is that I got a new job. The bad news is that I'm going to have to learn Java. Should I stay or should I go?
Go.
I don't know. Yeah,
like it's like
okay. I don't actually dislike Java. I do dislike old Java because I remember old Java. I do think that they've fixed a lot of the pain points because it wouldn't still be around. And I've seen a lot of stuff that looks pretty cool coming out of that space. So I'll say that it depends. If they sprung this on you after you arrived at the job when they advertised something else, you should start looking. This happened to me several times at different jobs. It never works out well. If they lied, getting you in there, they're going to continue to lie to you as long as you are there. So just understand that they'll do it again. That said, you do leave on your own terms, not theirs. So don't just quit. Feel free to start looking for work, and then when you find work, turn in your notice and go. Don't burn bridges. Just get it over with. If they did tell you before, then you need to examine why you took the gig in the first place. Now, there's a couple of things that could have happened here. First of all, did you change your mind after the fact? If so, you need to think about why that is. Lots of really slick things are happening in the Java space, but did you have a bad experience with the IDE? Or did you go, hey, I don't want to learn this because I want to learn this other thing? Those things are legitimate, but there's a lot of reasons that can come into this, and you need to make sure they're valid before you make a quick decision, especially if you made a big decision to take a new job and go through all the crap that goes with that. That's not something you just turn on your heel and do something else with. So
another thing you need to ask yourself is, were you desperate?
yeah.
Like, if you're desperate, you need to stop and figure out, what's going on with that. Why are you desperate for a job? Could also be when we had a friend that ended up taking a job doing Java that did not ever want to do Java. Like, her big thing was, I don't want to do Java.
Yeah.
And she took the job because she needed her first job, and it was a job offer for her first job. So there's that situation where it's like, all right, here's an opportunity to get in, work for 6 months to a year on a contract, and then go off and do something I want to do.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to think about too.
Desperation will really get you into trouble. It drives away good choices rather.
Mm-hmm.
Because people see that you're desperate, and so the better companies are not going to want you. And it also drives you towards bad decisions. Like if you are worried about paying your rent, you're going to have a really hard time justifying not taking a job that doesn't work for you. I also think there's a thing here with worldview that I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit, and that is understanding that problems never really go away. You just get better ones. Like that's how life progresses. Life is a series of problems. You either get better ones or you get worse ones, and that's it. And at the end you die, and that's the last problem. And that's completely okay because it's the way it is.
Is it really a problem if you're dead? Do you really care?
I don't know. But you know, it's like this. Like it's like being lonely is a problem. Like I remember when I was younger, you know, that was a big thing, and I was like, oh, I'm depressed. I'm alone all the time. You know, I'm not happy. But here's the thing: getting to where you're not lonely. You know, yeah, the loneliness problem that's solved. However, now you have somebody to argue with.
Well, you know, on that note, we have a friend who not too long ago got divorced.
Yeah.
And told us, well, actually, we're friends with both parties, and they both pretty much said, you know, that they were living with someone alone.
Yeah.
You know?
So you don't get better problems. You don't get a lack of problems. You either get better problems or you get worse. So figure out whether the decision is pushing you, which one is pushing you towards, and then go there. And that's what desperation is, right? It's going, I will accept a worse set of choices because I feel like this problem is worse than anything else that could happen, and you do not want to be there. So I would look in and examine that very carefully before I proceeded in any direction.
Mm-hmm. So our next question is, how much vanilla or basic JavaScript do I need? I did the quotations around basic and not vanilla, and on the notes it's around vanilla. Yay me. How much vanilla or basic JavaScript do I need to know before I start learning a framework like React or Angular? Well, it really depends on where you are in your career and in your learning. Like, if you already know a C-based language, like, you know, you've done some C++ or you've done some C#, and, you know, you already know the basics of the language, the constructs and stuff, then you'll need less ramp-up time to learn the uniqueness that is JavaScript.
However, take the time to learn about this. Like this keyword, what that means. It is not the same thing in JavaScript that it is in other places, and it will hurt when you learn.
Well, the thing is, with if you've got some background, then your learning is, all right, let me look at the differences from what I already know.
Right, not a
as
programming
opposed
structure.
as opposed to let me learn how to program and learn this.
Yeah.
Now, if this is your first language, or maybe you're still in school, then you should spend some more time learning the language basics. So if you're early in learning or still in school, I would definitely say learn to do things the vanilla way. Since it had been quite a while for me, when I started, I focused on learning the vanilla JavaScript. Also, when Will was mentoring me, he pretty much required that I do that.
Yeah.
And that was so that I was able to write some functional applications in the language alone, and help me better understand what the frameworks do and how to work around them if they don't do what I want or if they're not doing it properly.
Yeah. And the other reason I did that is, you know, he needed basics to some degree too. Like, you know, just hammering that in. Like, you don't want to be leaning on a framework when you don't completely have the basics committed to muscle memory, or to, not muscle memory, but like where it's background noise.
I just realized that I didn't finish that point too.
Yeah,
I got pulled away from working on this when I was writing my part of the outline, and came back to it, and I didn't realize that I hadn't finished that one.
Yeah. Well, this also is actually what it says, and so it technically does feed in, right? You need to learn about this, this keyword. In fact, there was a comment on Reddit a while back that was great on this, because what this dude said is, he goes, you know, JavaScript makes me so mad. I want to just flip the table over and say, F this, but I don't know what this is in this context. And I saw that comment, it just made me happy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, you're next.
Our next question. I'm a project manager on a team of 8 people. My developers always get really cranky when I come by to ask them a simple question. Why is that? And I'll go ahead and start. As a cranky developer myself, I'll go ahead and explain this.
He needs a nap
Yeah.
and a bottle of beer.
Yeah, something. Okay, so first of all, programming takes a lot of effort to get your head around the totality of the system that you're working on. It doesn't matter how small it is, even if it's just a couple of functions. Understanding everything that's going on takes a minute. Somebody just popping by with a question erases that effectively. And it forces you to either do that work again of getting back into context, or to trust that you didn't lose anything during the interruption. Some little critical, edge case or something like that. The former wastes time, and the latter increases the frequency of errors, neither of which is good for the developer. And it kind of feels like being set up to fail because it really is. And that's probably not what you intended as a project manager. Now, all that said, that's fine. Developers don't like interruptions. But we'd be remiss if we didn't offer some kind of solution to this problem, because there is one. You do have to be able to ask questions. So ask questions. If they're not hair on fire critical, ask them in a meeting. And here's how you do the meeting, because that's also important. It has to have a well-defined timeline. In other words, you're stuck in here for an hour, but that's it. It has to have an agenda. Here's the questions I want answered so the developers can prepare before they come in. And some of them won't, but that's fine. It's on them then, right? And it only includes the people that actually need to be there for the time that they're needed.
And if you need information between meetings, but it's still not a hair on fire, the world is falling down situation, use a form of asynchronous communication as asynchronous. So send an email. We use Slack at work. Send a Slack, because we all pretty much have the same idea that, all right, if I'm busy, I might address that, hey, you sent me a question, and say, because I've had this happen where I was debugging something, and our DBA sends me a thing, hey, do you have a moment to answer a question? And I write back, what is it? I'm busy, but I'll get to it as soon as I finish, and so, go ahead and ask it. And so I went back to debugging, spent that time, and then, 30, 45 minutes later, I come back and answer her question.
Yeah. And don't be the person that sends an email and then 5 minutes later walks over, did you get my email? Just don't do that. You're kidney punching your career as a project manager when you do that. Like that makes people really dislike you and want to undermine you so that you get replaced, frankly. I
will say this, I have gotten an email and then 5 minutes later gotten a Slack, why haven't you responded to the email? And
what's the response to that? You turn both of them off.
I just responded to the Slack. It was later that I responded to. I was like, just got out of the toilet. What was I supposed to do?
Wi-Fi reception in there isn't any good. I don't want to take my dinner tray in there. You understand, man? I don't have all the monitors. People are just kind of weird about that. Now, developers do hate meetings. I don't like meetings, but if you structure your meeting well so that they don't feel like their time's being wasted, it really goes a long way, and it shows them that you're trying to at least minimize the interruptions. And just remember that if you're in a good place, your evaluation as a project manager should be based on the results you achieve, not on how quickly you can find out about the font kerning on the TPS report. Okay, that's not going to matter that much.
Do people still do TPS reports?
Transactions per second? Toilet paper supplies? I don't know. I'm not even sure what a TPS report actually was in that movie. I assumed it was transactions per second.
Yeah.
But I mean, they may have just made that up. But if you let your developers focus, they can help you deliver the results that you're evaluated on. Mm-hmm. So line things up so that you can actually win. Don't go, oh, why are they opposing me? Well, don't do that. Don't go against that. It's just a bad way to lose.
So we're going to take a short break here to address some of the comments in Facebook. So we have John Calloway. What's up, John? We were just recently on his podcast, and he'll be on ours in a couple of weeks. Wait, something different? And then we have Dave from Junior Developer Toolbox. What? Or WAT? Yeah, that's a WAT, not a what. WAT? Where is Will? What did you do with him? Is this a hostage situation? These are all caps. I'm not yelling into the microphone.
Well, he is yelling into the microphone, but he's reading in all caps, so he's supposed to yell.
Josh Kilgore, I am so confused. Dave, welcome to Live with Beej and Babyface.
Gee, thanks.
Dave, you probably missed the intro, but it's Beard Man and the Boy Wonder.
Yeah. Josh Kilgore replying, "What? You have biological functions? We're going to have to let you go." Yes, and definitely sing that song from Frozen that everybody hates while you do it. Let him go, let him go. Yeah, that's great.
Dave said this episode brought to you by the Dollar Shave Club.
I've thought about getting a subscription to that, actually.
I'm a member of the Dollar Beard Club. Yes, there is one.
Of course there is.
It's on Facebook, yo. And Brandon Moore, lol. All right. Awesome, guys. Just wanted to hit on that, to say hi to you guys. Did you want to address anything that they said about your beard loss?
Yeah, it's, well, you know, like I said, it did look like somebody took the back end off of a skunk. Just all the gray hair and everything. It was bad. Obviously, next time I do that, I probably need to just bite the bullet and actually, like, color the beard. Yeah, that just wasn't happening.
All right. So, moving along, my next question is, can programmers work past 35 or 40, or do they become... Let me rephrase that. Sorry, guys. Can programmers work past 35 or 40, or do they become too old to keep up with new technologies? And this question has popped up a lot. I've seen it on Quora and a few other places where people are really interested in this. I think it is people looking to change careers and going, all right, well, I'm in my late 20s, early 30s. Is it worth it going to a boot camp or something like that? Well, guys, one thing I want to say is I was in my mid-30s when I started learning to be a developer. Well, I guess not started because I was in high school then, but when I started pursuing it,
developer.
Yeah, when I started pursuing it as a career, I was in my mid-30s. It's less about age and more about environment, personality, and commitment to learning and growing. A lot of people switch careers into development and become successful developers. We know a few people who switched later that have done that.
Some of them are real good, too.
Now, it might be a little bit different if you've been doing it for a while. And this point was brought up by Will when we were discussing these. You may not want to continue to want to be a developer.
Yeah, a lot of the developers I worked with when I started, they're not doing it anymore. They're doing something else. I know lots of them that got out of it, and there's a lot of reasons. And so I put this part of the outline in. The first thing is you get stuck maintaining stuff because you know the old stack, whereas they have to train a junior to do it, and the junior doesn't know all the weird quirks and edge cases and everything else, and so they'll put you on that instead of pulling the junior over.
I'm learning some of the old stuff, and I wish they did that.
Yeah. The other thing is the new shiny toys are just not as compelling. You've seen a lot of fads. Like I remember Visual Basic 5 web classes and how, that was going to change everything. And then I remember Silverlight. Like this has gone on and on, quite a bit. And so like as you get older, you get a little bit more jaded. And so it's harder. Just from that perspective, because you're like, am I learning this to get burned in 6 months?
Yeah, but I would also think that as an older developer, you would be able to recognize the things better that are going to be fads.
Yeah, I would say that that's not true because the most of the new stuff seems to solve old problems that we've already seen before. But sometimes they take root and sometimes they don't. And so what you end up doing is you go, okay, I'm not going to be on the bleeding edge. I'm going to be back from it a little bit and then see how this goes. And if it starts looking like, it's taking off, then I'll jump on. Like you learn the better moment to jump versus a junior developer can go, hey, I'm going to jump in this new thing and go. And they can be the expert because everybody's got 6 months experience. Whereas a senior developer, that's a loss for them. So there's some weird stuff that comes up there. The other thing that happens as you get older is you have other priorities. I have a wife, I have a child. You know, I'm just older. You know, that's the thing. The family responsibilities do require time, and a lot of times learning the new stuff, you know, you're doing it on your own time.
Well, the thing is, and also, this isn't exactly about learning new things. This is about being a developer past this age.
Yeah.
And another thing to point out here is, and like I said, it depends on the environment. So
it depends on your temperament too.
Right.
Like if you're, I as a 38-year-old, I would not want to be a front end developer right now personally. I mean, I do a lot of front end stuff, but like going, hey, this is my full time thing. Holy crap! Everything changes so fast, and that would be brutal. Now on the back end, you know, you understand established solutions. You can maintain servers. You know that there's all that other stuff around it that you kind of built up, and that's easier to protect. So I think it's kind of mixed. And again, it depends on personality. I've also noticed that it's harder for me to learn, you know, faster moving things as I get older. Like I can learn things deeply, like getting a lot of breadth real quick is hard for me, but getting depth is easier. If that makes sense.
I think it's more because that's not what you're used to than because of age. I think it's more that you have spent so much time with the things that you had breadth in, going deeper in them, that you're out of practice learning the breadth. Because I'm only a few years younger than you, and for me, learning breadth is no problem because I haven't been in that. Well, I did get in that practice of learning depth and breadth in med school.
Yeah.
But and I've seen a lot of other people that have switched careers and didn't have that problem because they were. It took some ramp up to get back into the learning mentality, but they got into the learn the breadth mentality. So I think if you or if other people who have been doing it for a while practiced at it, they could get that faster.
We could, but I mean, how do I maintain my current pay scale with breadth? I can't as easily. I can with depth though because I'm a specialist.
That's what I'm saying though is it's not because of age. It's because of
economics.
Yeah.
Going on, and age tends to make those economics more apparent.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, again, it's
a situational thing too. The thing is, people in their mid to late 30s do tend to typically, more often than not, have families, have more responsibility, have more debt, those things like that. They've got a car payment, a house payment, those types of things. Whereas the younger people don't have as much of that.
Except for student loans.
Well, yeah, where there's that. But, the other thing to point out here is that maintaining existing systems is just as, if not more important, than creating new apps.
And it's harder a lot of times, frankly. That's one of the things I really like about brownfield development is I'm on challenge mode. I get to start with a handicap. I don't get to go, okay, I can use this new thing. It's like, no, we got to use this junk. They're using SQL 2008. You can't use those functions. They aren't there.
Yeah. Older coders were around when the tech that, built the existing system. Yeah. Older coders were around when the tech that built the existing systems was brand new. They were the young new bucks coming out on the scene when that was the new stuff, and so they've grown up with it and are able to maintain that. So there is a need for those older developers. I know where I work, we have a couple of developers that are really good with the older systems that we go to when one of us junior developers is on the maintenance team.
Yep. And the thing is that's a sunk cost already for the older developers. Like you've put your time in, and that stuff is needed. So it's not bad, and that's the space that I work in now. For the most part, I am doing some newer stuff, but like I'm not exclusively doing newer stuff.
Yeah.
I think the other side of it is if I'm doing the older stuff, I've already got the advantage. Whereas if I'm doing the newer stuff, I'm competing with somebody at a much lower salary.
Yeah. Well,
and it's I can provide more value, yes, but it's harder to beat that by as much as I can beat it on the other end, if that makes sense. Trust me, 20 years,
Possibly. I mean, it depends on what you're doing. Like, if you were going in for a position that was more of like a mentor lead position, and it was you were going out and learning the new technologies and then coming in and training up.
But the mentoring and leading is the 20 years experience. It's
right.
Like you pick up the new stuff and you use it to supplement and drive the value of the older stuff you have.
Yeah. No.
That works. But the new stuff is the main value. I'm not sure that works as well.
I don't know that I agree with you.
You can make it work, right? There's guys that do. It's a lot harder.
Possibly. So. I think it depends on, I think in your situation, no.
Yeah.
But I think in other people's situations, it could.
Right. Like if you're, for instance, if you're married and you don't have kids, right? And, you've got more disposable income probably. You've got more free time, especially if you don't have a commute. Then you've got more wiggle room.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, when I come home and I've got a couple hours a night to study new stuff, I have to be very, very selective about what it is, and I can't get all the new things.
Right. Well, you have your commute, but you also have your family. You want to spend time with your kid. You want to spend time with your wife, and those things. And that's what I was saying. Like, it's not that because that you are older that people that like don't do it. It's more a matter of the things associated with being older.
Well, the other thing too is like, I remember when I first started, the coding stuff was like that was the big goal, right? Is to do all the neat tech. But now that I'm older, it's to enable the other parts of my life. It's not just about the tech anymore. And so there's that shift as well that you go through. So that's a very good question, obviously.
Yeah, we kind of went
ginormous can of worms, but
we could probably have a whole episode just on that and bring some. Ooh, that would be a good panel.
Bring some older developers that are still in it, some people that were developers and got out of it.
Yeah. So we'll look into that, guys.
Okay, so our last question. I work at a good, stable job, but the technology stack hasn't been updated in 5 years, and management isn't interested in updating. How long can I stay here before I stagnate, and what should I do? And I hate giving this answer, but like everything else in tech, it depends. First of all, how much time do you spend working on your own skills? That's the biggest question here. Like, I deal with older tech at work and a little bit of newer, but not enough to go, okay, I'm keeping up on the technology treadmill. I spend some time of my personal time, keeping up.
Oh, I would say it depends on what you do.
Yeah.
Because, if you are in the database world, you've got more leeway.
Yeah.
Because things do not change as fast.
The closer you get to the front end, it's like there's some event horizon out there where literally by the time you can learn it, it's gone, and that's somewhere in the front end JavaScript.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, as you get as you approach the front end, the speed with which your skills are outdated asymptotically increases.
Yeah. Now, you should be doing some work to keep your skills up, right? Like, it's not just the responsibility of your employer. Like, you don't want your whole career based around what they want. You want it based around what you want. And sometimes those things match, and that's great. When they don't, you need to deal with a gap so that you can keep going the way you want to go. It makes it easier for you to bring improvements in if you do this as well, right? So it makes you more valuable in your current job, even if you don't leave. The second thing I would say is, are you really sure that they're stuck on not updating, or are there reasons for it? Previous developers will sabotage this for you if you're not, like, I've come into jobs before where the previous developers really ruined everything and management didn't trust developers anymore. And so you got to rebuild that. Now, so let's talk about what to do. First, you got to find out what their concerns are. Why are they not updating? Is it the previous developers sabotaging, like I talked about before, or do they not see the value proposition in updating? They may have a COBOL mainframe system that works just fine as far as they're concerned. It hits the load requirements. It's whatever.
At that point, I would wonder, what is the cost of hiring COBOL developers versus the cost of replacing them?
Bingo, and that's why I'm saying this. let's say they're feature driven to the point of not having time. I mean, that's another common thing, right?
Yeah.
But every one of these things, every concern here has got the answer to it within it. If the previous developers messed it up, you got to build up a history of success before you start trying to climb this hill. And you should do that, by the way, because if the previous developers messed up that bad, there's a reason for it. Maybe the tech is too complicated. Maybe there's management issues. Maybe there's, whatever. But you need to know what those are before you start confronting them. So it's good for you anyway. If they don't see the value proposition, you've got to convince them of what that value proposition is. Hey, we could get onto mobile if we could just get away from using the table-based layouts in HTML. There's companies that legitimately think that their table-based layouts are great, and they've been there since 1998. We hadn't had to mess with it. But you can't go on mobile anymore. Right?
You ever could?
No. It depends on how bad of an experience you want your users to have, right? Yeah, but I mean, there's companies out there that legitimately, this is a thought process that's going down, right? If they're feature-driven, you've got to show that fixing these problems will make it easier to deliver new features. Everything that's a concern of theirs can be flipped on its head and gives you the answer to how to approach it. But don't go, oh, we've got to have new features because of my career. Don't do that. They don't care about your career. I mean, they probably do a little bit, but that's not the main driver of their business. It can't be, because they wouldn't be in business very long. Mm-hmm. So that's a good question.
All right, so we're gonna finish up with a couple of comments from the Peanut Gallery. I mean Facebook. So Jeff Thompson, hey Jeff. As someone who is 40 learning to code now, your words are encouraging. Thank you. You're welcome. Dave, yep, I'm 37 and sure hope it's not too late for me. I don't think so. Dave, you.
I know he's capable.
Yeah. And let's see, Brandon Moore. I've worked with awesome developers in their late 40s and mid 50s.
I do as well, right now, in their 50s.
Yep. And Josh, I just turned 36. Hope I can. Yeah, I was there, Josh, at your birthday party. That was awesome, man.
And I think I was at your 34th.
Yeah. I think you were sick around his last birthday party.
Something, yeah.
Yeah. I still have the lights things that I had in my beard from that, dude. That was so much fun. Anyways, hope I can continue until retirement. I've been on the job for about 4 months, man. I'm hoping the same thing. I'm about the same age as you and Dave. So, here's to all of us retiring as developers.
Here's to all you old gray beards.
All right. So, guys, if you haven't already checked it out, check out. Oh, so John Calloway was commented earlier.
Yeah.
I forgot that episode came out this past week. I thought it was,
even though it's on the outline right in front of you.
Well, it was down.
Are you sure about that older developer thing?
So check out our most recent episode. I knew it was coming out right around now. I just couldn't remember I edit and schedule them, and I forget exactly when they come out until I have to look at the outline apparently.
Yeah.
So check out our episode on unit testing and test-driven development. Unit testing is a valuable skill to have no matter where your code runs or what it does. It reduces the error rate of your software and can help force a better structure into your code. And we brought on John Calloway and Clayton Hunt to answer our questions about unit testing and test-driven development. We met John at DevSpace in Huntsville, Alabama last year. A Microsoft MVP, John has been a professional developer since 1999. He has focused primarily on web technologies, and his experience with everything from PHP to C# to React to SignalR. Clayton has been programming professionally since 2005, doing mostly web development with an emphasis on JavaScript and C#. They are 2/3 of the trio that hosts the Six Figure Developer Podcast, which we were guests on this week, and they run the St. Pete.net meetup. John and Clayton have recently released a book, Practical Test-Driven Development Using C#7, Unleash the Power of TDD by implementing real-world examples under .NET environment and JavaScript.
Yep, it's good stuff.
It is a really good book, and they have a lot of great stuff to say. So check out the episode. Follow the link in the show notes to get the book.
So our upcoming episode this week is 7 pros and 6 cons of having a side hustle. Whether it's producing content such as podcasts, we don't know anybody that does that, blogs, videos, consulting, or building applications for personal use or for sale, there's a lot to be gained by doing stuff on the side, by hustling on the side. A lot of us are doing things on the side that aren't considered traditional hobbies. There isn't a good widespread agreement on what this means, so we kind of go into defining that in this episode. But after that, we kind of talk through all these upsides and downsides. So if you're considering starting a side project of your own, an early awareness of the upsides and downsides can save you a ton of pain and frustration. In the episode, we discussed 7 benefits that you gain from having a side hustle. It's not just money. There's a lot of other stuff around this that's very valuable. Then we talk about the 6 downsides or pitfalls to avoid or mitigate when you're taking on side work. So if you plan ahead, you can cut the pain a little bit. We close the episode out with tips to apply when starting to hustle on the side.
So guys, that'll be out this week. Check it out. It's going to be awesome. We're going to hop off here and record another really awesome episode. It's going to be kind of a heady one, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We'll catch y'all later. And
do you have any more comments before we flip?
Oh, yeah. Let me look.
One last thing.
Cheers. That's all I got. So, and my sister joined. Hey, Lori. So that's all we got. We will catch you guys later.